Right now on Tech Radio, 6G. It's not what you think.
Hi, I'm Artemis. I am a computer-generated AI voice, and you're listening to Tech Radio.
Every week online, we bring you the latest in tech from Ireland and across the world. You're welcome to episode 1108 this week, looking at Samsung closing up on their coolest phone ever. Ireland is moving another step closer to a social media ban, and the Metaverse gets put out of its misery. Plus, we'll be taking a look at UCD's pioneering new 6G testbed.
From techcentral.ie, this is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
My name's Dusty. Joining me as always, our editor-in-chief at Tech Central Towers, Niall Kitson. Niall, are we going to have like a funeral and a proper send-off for the Samsung Galaxy Z Trifold?
Well, I mean, you saw this and you just grew 6 feet. You know, you were very excited about this product.
I was. It's a toy. Nobody else has that toy. Well, I love that. It's like, oh, look at me with my Samsung and it folds out like that. Oh, really? Oh, just the two? Whoops. I've got the Trifold.
Yeah. And I mean, this was a blue sky product to begin with. I mean, Samsung did not expect people to, run out and go, this is the productivity device I did not know I was missing. I don't know. Did it live up? If expectations for sales are so low, did it live up to them or not? You're the guy to ask.
Oh, listen, this was always a showcase product. This is more a kind of look what can be done rather than this is what we're doing. All right. I remember that when they launched. And if I'm not mistaken, they only made 6,000. Like it wasn't like a huge worldwide global release or anything like that. So they put 6,000 out in the world. They were selling for something like $3,000 or something like that. I believe all or almost all of them are sold. Boom. That's it. Done.
Okay.
So you could say it's a success, but I mean, surely Samsung sells 6,000 phones a day in Ireland alone.
Well, there is that. They must have had a very, very niche market segment in mind. And I would say they were probably keeping an eye on all the socials to see what feedback there was, if any. And maybe use that as the basis on whether to proceed. I mean, it's the kind of product that you cannot get by with. Do you know what I mean? The response would have to have been super positive for them to continue with an entirely new form factor.
Yeah. Perhaps. As I say, I thought it was always, as you say, a blue sky. It was a showcase. They put it out there. The actual practical side of it, I don't know. It's a bit like Apple with what's the VR headset that they have? What do they call it?
Vision Pro.
There you go. It's the kind of like they've put that out in the world, and again, it's a ridiculous amount of money to buy it. And I think they were just kind of putting it out there to see what would happen.
Yeah.
You know, and not a lot has.
Well, the feedback is from the developers. And that's the metric. And if you had developers looking at a tri-screen phone and going, huh? Like what do we do at this thing? What is this thing worth investing our time and talent in?
True. I wouldn't invest in one because I think it would be too thick. It'd be like literally putting a box, you know, to kind of say the candy bar phone shape and whatever, and that fits into your pocket. But you can imagine 3 phones in your pocket.
Yeah.
It's a bit much.
Well, I mean, it comes down to what problems does this solve?
None.
Yeah.
That I can see. I mean, do I really need more screen space?
Well, I mean, if you're into using a tablet, like I use a tablet more than I use a laptop. But that said, I don't want to look at 2 folds in my screen either.
Well, there you go. Yeah. And you can't get away with not seeing those blinking things, like, you know. No. Anyways, that's Samsung. The Galaxy Z Trifold is dead. Long live the Galaxy Z Trifold. The other thing, which I think is way more interesting to Ireland, is that the whole social media ban for under 16s is gathering pace, but also at the same time, they're touting this idea of a digital wallet. What do we know about this so far?
Yeah, well, the digital wallet is coming in. It's an EU initiative. It's the legislation is done. It's coming here by the end of 2026. Now, as with all things EU related, there is a grace period. I don't know what that is. So, we're not all going to have something by the end of 2026, nor will your birth cert, your public services card, your travel card, nor will any of those things cease to have, currency. Those aren't going anywhere either. This is a case of convenience as much as anything. So you will have your digital wallet with, here's the thing I'm not so sure of, whether it will be something issued with the digital component, or will it be like a scan of an official document that you have, that will be protected by some sort of biometric information. So you'll have your wallet, but only a fingerprint or a face print will get to open it, and that's your layer of security.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Is this a digital wallet that is endorsed at government level?
Yeah.
Or is it a digital ID?
Well, I mean, there's discussion. I mean, there is a European standard for that as well. I'm not going to dig too much into it, because it's a whole other issue. I'm not going to touch that until we see it. I'm not. Look, some countries have a national ID card and it works just fine for them. There is an EU version. I think, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But
well, I was going to ask, because like in Europe, it's the funny thing about it, UK and Ireland is kind of like we are the outliers on this. Okay, in Europe, it is a requirement that you have photo ID. Yeah. Okay. You have to have photo ID with you at all times. Now, that can be, I believe, it can be a passport or a driver's license, but for people who've never gone abroad and don't drive a car, there is the national ID card. And I think everybody gets a national ID card anyway. But that's the rule. Anytime they've tried to bring it in here, it's faced huge backlash. I don't know. Do you remember the Irish Public Services card, where they said it's not a national ID card, it's not mandatory, but if you don't have one, you can't do anything with the government? Yeah, collect your social welfare or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, and there was huge pushback against that. And then there were all kinds of court cases. And then the government was found to be using that illegally, and also the face digital face imprint stuff as well. Facial recognition is what they were using, and that was also found to be illegal. They're still pushing it that they want to use that. So there was a huge pushback on that. And then more recently, in the UK, Keir Starmer was trying to introduce a UK national ID card as well, which will be mandatory, and everybody would have to have one. Or what was it he said? You would have to have one if you want to have a job, because they're trying to curb on migration. So again, it's not mandatory, but you can't work without one. Do you know that kind of way? So, but they've pushed back on that as well, because public reaction has been blah.
Yeah. I mean, bear in mind that it's not just a wallet. I mean, this is the EU Digital Identity, or EU DI wallet. And not only will you have sort of your travel documents, you'll also be able to put in things like, credentials. You'll be able to create electronic signatures as well. So there's a bit more to it than just a document repository. And of course, you'll be able to, you can even put in things like degrees and things like that as well. So there's an element of sort of curating your official documents, where they came from, but also of signature creation, which is a big deal as well.
That's interesting. And when it comes to the social media ban then for under 16s, I believe there's a facility in these things where it's a green tick, is over 18.
Yeah. And, this is kind of a great use for it, for the digital wallet. Bearing in mind that, it's an app and it's not mandatory. So that's, important to restate. But if you've got your passport in there, or if you've got a birth cert in there or something like that, that will, help you either sign up or get past the age barrier, or be stopped by the age barrier, whatever is appropriate. And if that's the price of admission to set up a Snapchat account or to set up a Facebook account, well, do you know what? I don't think there's a parent in the country would be like, nope, you're not getting that digital wallet. I want you exposed to all the nastiness that's on Facebook.
Well, we'll keep an eye on. We'll see what happens. I would be. Would you sound like you would happily jump into that?
I would. Yeah. Like looking at I had calls to use an app on my phone that I don't use very often, but has a lot of personally identifiable information on it. But it's like I have multi-factor authentication on it, one of which is biometric. And I'm like, there is nobody getting into this. I'm happy. The only issue isn't coming in at what you might call the front end, sort of bypassing user credentials. The issue is being able to subvert the system and going in that way. So that's a challenge.
You mean somebody getting in at the actual database?
Yeah,
itself?
exactly.
Can you imagine? And we have had those things, and they have happened in the past.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can be Apple and say, look, everything stays on device, etc., etc.
Yeah.
We'll see what the implementation of this is like. I'm in favor of it.
All right. Okay. I'm skeptical. Next story. So we've had Samsung closing down one thing, and now we've got Meta are turning off the Metaverse-ish.
Oh, God. $80 billion well spent.
Including, and they're just going to chuck that out with the bathwater now.
Including the acquisition of Oculus, the development of numerous generations of Rift headset, ending, well, as we're chatting, I think what's the most up-to-date one? It's the Oculus Quest 2.
Oh, it's something like that. Yeah.
Which is designed to be used without the aid of a computer. And so Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook, that decided to change its name to Meta to align with the Metaverse, a product that nobody really wanted, has decided that, do you know what? We're getting out of virtual reality. We're sticking all our metaphorical eggs in AI, the AI basket.
Okay.
What's interesting to me, and there's plenty of stuff that's interesting on this, twofold. One is kind of the level of enthusiasm Meta had for this product that never developed any sort of solid user base behind it, right? This was sold quite aggressively as being the future of computing.
And the pricing was very good because for the actual headset, I think it was a couple £100 for the MetaQuest headset. Yeah. And it was pretty much standalone. You didn't have to plug it into a computer specifically or anything like that. So, it was cheap. Yeah. It was easy to use. People just not picking up on it.
And, the environment, I guess you call it, the platform, the Horizon Worlds platform behind the Metaverse, that's not going anywhere. That's still going to be around, just in mobile form, because apparently that's where there's traction. But
so when they say they're going all in, when they say they're going all in on mobile, what do you think they mean?
Well, no, they're going all in on AI. We know this. I mean, they dropped, what was it, 20% of their staff last week, and the share price went up because investors love to see quote unquote efficiency. But VR was one of the pillars of Web3. Web3 was defined by decentralized technology, open source technologies, identity control, things like that, blockchain, and VR sat in there as well. VR, it's failed. We can say it's failed. It is something that started out for gamers, and it's still for gamers, and that's where it's going to live. I've seen wonderful short films. I've seen brilliant things that have created experiences unique to virtual reality, but there isn't the market, there isn't the talent to pull it off. out there at the moment. There isn't the demand.
Grand.
And that's a shame. But, so that's part one that really sort of kind of interests me, that one of the pillars of Web3 has effectively been knocked down. However, Microsoft got out of extended reality when it killed the HoloLens, which was actually a really good bit of hardware that people were really finding solid uses for in industry and in medicine. Now, the last person standing, officially, in VR or extended reality, or in the high end, what they're calling spatial computing, is Apple.
Oh, for God's sake.
Who were the last to the party.
Yeah, and that's going nowhere either. Do you know, there's one kind of, I don't know if it's the virtual reality side of things, and I can't remember the name of it now, but Google have demoed a brilliant thing. It was kind of like a meeting booth or something like that, where you would be sitting in front of this, whatever, and it would have a 3D projection of the person that you were talking to, wherever it is that they are in the world. So you could almost kind of go into this and have a cup of coffee with somebody, and it'll be almost like they're there.
Was that hologram or with a headset?
That's it. Yeah, they're the holodeck or whatever the heck they were calling it.
Hologram, right? Okay. Well, I mean, I'd sign up for that. That sounds cool.
Well, that's it. And because it's like you're going into a booth, that's how they made it work. You're not wearing a headset. You don't have that kind of like technology kind of being invasive on your actual physical being.
Yeah.
I think there could be legs in that yet. Maybe it's a couple of years down the line. But I think you're right. I think VR is dead for the great public because it's been around. How long has it been around?
Oh my
It must
goodness.
be 10 years.
And well, I mean, Oculus has been doing well for a long time.
There you go.
Doing well.
And it's just not, you know, I kind of like people say the same thing to me about DAB, digital radio, and maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. The same thing could be said. Do you remember mini disc back in the late 90s?
Yeah.
You know, same thing. Great technology, but just never took off for people, like, for whatever reason. Anyway, that's Meta. There is one thing, and I do have to include it because it made me laugh out loud, right? Is that Meta have said that they are going to go all in on AI, and that they are going to build responsibly from the beginning.
Well, I put that in the show notes because this was actually what they said about VR, about the metaverse. Right?
Okay, grand. Got it.
This was what they were saying. We're going to build responsibly from the beginning. And they had a certain number of principles that they said they were going to adhere to. Right?
Yeah.
They said, never surprise people, provide controls that matter, consider everyone, put people first, use parental controls, and strong GDPR compliance.
Now, if you were to read that, the exact opposite, all right, that is what our experience of Meta has been.
Yep, that's AI all over.
Always surprise people. Tell them nothing. Don't let them have any control. Consider no one. Do what you want. Put us first. Parental controls? Who cares? Strong GDPR avoidance.
Yeah,
that's how I see Meta.
That's you know, it's funny.
Anyway. Listen, interesting that you were saying about the gaming and VR headsets being all for gaming and stuff like that. NVIDIA, who usually make good headlines, are making not so good headlines this week because of DLSS 5. What is DLSS 5 and why are people annoyed?
Okay, right. DLSS 5 is basically the latest version of NVIDIA's deep learning super sampling technology, which is used in games. And the idea behind this is NVIDIA just went, look, we're using all this amazing power to generate graphics in AI. Why don't we do that for gaming? That's very simple principle behind it. The only problem is that the footage that has been released so far, acting as a proof of concept, has been pretty much derided by gamers on both sides of the console, if you will. A lot of developers have looked at it and said, "This, if you're an art director, this just makes a mockery of your work because it has taken what you designed, right, in terms of light, shade, shadow, environment, and it's just amped everything up. It's just given everything a glow up, right? So your dark street is now a dimly lit street, put it that way, right?
Okay.
So
whereas you wanted a dark street.
You wanted
all
a
along.
dark street in the first place. So in the name of adding detail, you have removed artistry, right? And this has extended to things like characters and facial expressions and things like that. Because we all know faces are so important when you're trying to create a link between something. And, what we are getting, and this has been kind of described as the AI slopification of games, because instead of this technology adding detail, adding detail in accordance with the world that has been set up, it just seems like detail layered upon detail, almost like a filter has been applied, and there's no attention paid to whether something actually fits within that environment for which it's been programmed for. It's almost like, you're playing a manga game or an anime game or something like that. You apply your filter to it, and all of a sudden it looks like you're playing a real person instead of an anime character. It's like, well, what have you done? Yeah. You've ruined it completely.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we are. So, I mean, I have often looked at these AI slop videos and thinking, like, why don't computer games look like this? And you know what? We can see computer games looking like it. And I go, that's why computer games don't look like it. We have art directors for a reason. They make decisions for a reason. And sometimes they're constrained by technology and sometimes they're not. And in this case, we have a lot of examples where they weren't, but where this technology is just inappropriate. And, people maybe don't want to play characters that look like they've been given an AI glow up.
Or would you like to play a character that is, shall I say, movie quality or TV quality that actually looks human?
I think that's the end game, really. But I really enjoy games that have very strong art direction. Like Gears of War, that series has very strong art direction and it's got good lore and you can really get stuck into it. That's the kind of game I enjoy. Not every game should look like that. It shouldn't play like it. It shouldn't look like it. And I don't like the idea of there being sort of a gold standard for how things should look. Now, there's some great memes going around of, before and after DLSS 5 is applied. And, basically the joke is if something is badly designed, it's going to look even worse.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? Do you remember when they started bringing in the HD TVs first? Yeah. All right. And we were getting these very large LCD things and it was all in HD. And you were looking at people's faces going, oh dear.
Well, do you know what?
It's a bit too big and the definition is a bit too clear.
That is something that we really have to reckon with every time there's a new format. That there does seem to be a spot at which people don't seem to know what the most effective combination of light and color is. Like I remember when HD became the norm and I was looking at it and I was going, is this what I should be looking at? Or is it an exaggerated version of what the creators intended? And then of course, talent caught up and all that sort of thing. But then with 4K, again, when I saw my first 4K TV production, I was like, is this somebody that actually made something for DVD
or has been upscaled,
but didn't know how to get the best out of either the upscaling or the format, and I definitely think it was the latter.
Interesting point of view. Last story for this week. Do you know we haven't had him on the show in quite a while, ladies and gentlemen? It's the return of Mr. Musk,
Mr. Elon Musk, and I was a little bit disappointed about this. Elon, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. X has decided to fork out the 120 million euro it owes it's been fined. It was fined 120 million by the EU for breaching the Digital Services Act. And instead of fighting it to the hilt, they're just throwing money at it to make it go away. Now, this case goes back to the fine was levied in December when X was found in breach of the DSA for the design of the blue check marks and failing to meet its transparency obligations. Because, as we know, people with a blue check mark, they pay for it, but blue check mark content also gets amplified up your timeline,
up the chain
as well. It goes up the chain. So that lack of transparency over the use of blue ticks. Also, some blue ticks, well, I mean, they're not blue ticks, they're gold ticks for accounts that are considered of general interest and are up to a certain standard. Don't see them very often, but they're there. They get dished out for free still. I used to have a blue tick mark. They used to, Twitter as it was then, had a scheme where if you were someone that might be quoted or something like that, or worked in media, you wanted to be identified as a trustworthy source, you could apply and you'd get your blue check mark for free. Then Musk bought Twitter and went, how the hell do I make money off this? I've scared away all my advertisers. Okay.
And now the easiest way to identify yourself as somebody trustworthy is to not be on X.
Yeah, just go to Blue Sky.
Now, let's leave it for there. Thank you as always, for keeping us up to date with what's happening in tech this week and your insight.
This is Tech Radio from techcentral.ie. Get every episode of Tech Radio by clicking follow on your podcast player right now.
Each generation of mobile networks comes with a significant speed bump, and with that speed bump, a world of new apps to take advantage of it. And yet, we're here, still watching videos on YouTube and Netflix like it seems we always have. It seems like that with every refresh, networks are working harder, but they're not working smarter. Until now. University College Dublin has invested €284,000 in the development of a testbed for 6G network automation and cybersecurity innovation. The project represents Ireland's first integrated AI-driven 6G experimentation platform, combining open radio access networks, edge intelligence, digital twins, and advanced cybersecurity research. During the week, Niall Kitson sat down with Madhusanka Lineage, a principal investigator with the Research Ireland Centre Connect, and Dr. Bart Siniarski, a postdoctoral researcher at UCD's School of Computer Science, to find out more.
Madhusanka, I'll start with you because I actually think there's a very interesting story to be had here in the background of the test bed, because it's not quite a project in itself. It's sort of more a product of a lot of different ideas coming from different places and the need for a specific piece of infrastructure appearing out of them. Well, without sounding too vague, if you could take us through a little bit more about what's happening.
Yeah, so we were doing research on this 6G, starting with 5G and now on the 6G research, especially on the security side. And we were doing a lot of research in our lab, and we wanted to have a real test bed to check how our system are working in the real environment. Actually, that's one of the most attractive point for many of the industrial partners, not just the theory, and they want to see how it actually is working in the real environment. So this is why actually we got the idea we need to have a real test bed to test our scenarios. And also another problem we were facing, especially with the AI, we need the real data to test our scenario. And it's really, really hard to find the real 5G and the 6G data. So that's also motivate us to go for a real test bed. So then we managed to secure some funding to have a very first version of our test bed, and we were working with that for 1 year time, and we found it very interesting and a lot of opportunities for us to grow around this area. So then actually we got additional funding from this higher education research equipment grant. Now actually we are going towards the full 6G version of this testbed. And the unique feature of our testbed is it's not just a 6G testbed, it is a combination of 6G plus AI security testing. So we will have AI integrated in all the components of the 6G network. And also we will be customizing this testbed to test more on the AI security testing, one of the critical threats in the 6G. And that will be the unique feature of this particular testbed. I don't think anywhere else in the island or even in Europe have this kind of AI security testing 6G testbed for the moment.
So Bart, tell us a little bit about some of the student projects that you've been dealing with that sort of pointed towards the need for this kind of infrastructure.
Thank you, and that's an excellent point. What Madhusanka said just right now is what we built, but there was obviously a clear need for the testbed. So before we even thought about deploying anything, we actually needed to run certain tests. For example, we wanted to test new attacks on the network that I think are coming up with the new 6G, hopefully in 2030. So we just have to remind everyone that 5G, the moving from 5G to 6G isn't just about speed. It's about the support of an extremely large number of devices and different heterogeneous devices. And with that, there comes problems. So we had many students, both at the PhD level and postdoctoral level, as well as master's students that wanted to explore these different layers of vulnerabilities. And we managed to hit the brick wall when requesting access to different testbeds. Even those testbeds that had open embedded inside weren't so open. And when we reached out to telecommunication companies, not only in Ireland, but across Europe, across different partners that we worked with historically, they were basically saying, no, we cannot give you access to our testbed. In fact, a lot of researchers working for their own telecommunication companies were not able to get access and get hands on their own 5G testbed. So we said, okay, if there's something we can't get, it means that we have to build our own testing environment. Similarly, getting the data sets. So we were interested to get telemetry data. We were interested to get logs, at least from these different test beds. And again, the response was no, we cannot give this to you because there are privacy issues, because this is a real customer data, or because we just don't want you to know what kind of test bed we have at the moment and what our network looks like. So this was very frustrating. And obviously we knew that there's going to be new layers and vectors of vulnerabilities that we haven't seen in 5G. The AI essentially that's supposed to be managing the 5G network, which is, it's if you think of 6G, it's really 5G with AI on top used in the management layer. We knew that there's going to be AI attacking AI. Right, so it's a different level of complexity, and we thought, okay, we can't get help from anyone. Let's build our own. Because of this, we have a lot of students interested in pursuing their PhD in the security and privacy space. We have at least, I would say, 3 students that work in explainable AI, which is also a very hot topic, but all under the umbrella of security and privacy in future networks. In fact, we still don't know what 6G will look like. There are a couple of leading projects, for example, HexaX, that is a flagship. It's a HexaX2, which is the flagship project for 6G, but yet that project is not finished, so we don't know what sort of vulnerabilities we can expect once the final 6G architecture is agreed upon, which seems to be still a couple of years ahead of us. So now we have numerous master, PhD, and postdoctoral students. I think, Madhusanka, how big is the network now of researchers? We have probably over 20.
Yeah. Around 30 researchers in our networks of Trifold and security labs working on the different topics related to the security.
Yeah, which I think makes this one of the biggest groups, and I think the only one that has such test beds. So it had attracted a lot of students. What it also attracted is the industry players. I just mentioned that there are telecommunication researchers that cannot get access to their own network to test their ideas. So they actually reach out to us. I can't list them here, but we have a couple of telecommunication researchers from Europe and beyond, and we have research engineers, we have software developers that work in the security space that are requesting the data sets. And we produce data sets because we want to keep up with the university spirit and continue to make things that are openly accessible. So just recently, we've published 3 data sets that people are able to use for free. Of course, they have to acknowledge that it's coming from UCD testbed. But we have a lot of happy people coming in saying, "Well, you saved us. You allowed us to write a paper or publish an interesting journal." Because I had your data set that was not available before. This is something we were really missing in the past, and it seemed that the only solution to fix it was to build your own testbed.
Marisanka, well, I remember when 5G was sort of being rolled out, it was very much this is a network that will be able to look after industrial applications. We'll be looking at edge computing. We'll be looking at things like digital twins, things that require an awful lot of bandwidth, but perhaps wouldn't be as relevant to consumer technology. That hasn't been quite the way it's panned out. So has these sort of edge applications, the digital twins, are they going to naturally migrate onto 6G while there isn't that groundswell of traditional consumer devices there to catch up?
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. Actually, when we were designing the 5G network, actually, we thought about a lot of new application we can deliver. Like we talk about UAE, autonomous driving car, or remote surgery, or holographic communication. I mean, a lot of things we have thought about. Actually, the 5G has capabilities to deliver most of those things, but the problem is like managing a network which is enabling this much of services. It's a nightmare, and it is not easy task. That is something actually we miss in the 5G. We had the technological advancement, like we came up with the cloud computing feature, network slicing to enable the different services on top of the same infrastructure, or edge computing to support low latency application. I mean, all of the big technologies which is need to enable was there in the 5G. But the problem is like how you can manage this much complicated tasks, and managing the network was a problem. So this is where actually something 6G is going to resolve, because it is no longer possible for us to do in a manual manner. We need like artificial intelligence to step in to manage the network with this much complication. So that's exactly the Bart was mentioning in the previously, like 6G is more like a 5G plus AI. So we have all the core technologies developed in the 5G era. Now we try to optimize it with the support of AI. So this is something we are going to do. For example, like when you are looking at the 6G core network, or like what are the key technologies which you are going to use in the core network, they're not going to change much. We are still going to use SDN, or we are still going to use network function virtualization. We are still going to use edge computing and the network slicing, but we are going to use it in a better way in the 6G with the support of AI. So this is actually helped a lot for us to tackle most of the things we were not able to achieve in the 5G era. So I think that's my answer for your question, like how we are going to achieve in the 6G whatever missing in the 5G domain.
That's a really, really easily digestible counting of 6G there as 5G plus AI. However, that does mean that you are reliant on the quality of data. Now, seeing as you're managing so many projects from students at the moment, Bart, if you can sort of clue me in a little bit about the opportunity this presents to gather and use high quality data instead of data that would have been gathered on an ad hoc basis in organizations or in projects that didn't know it was going to be mined and used for this thing called AI years ago when it was being, collated into a database or whatever.
Yes. So you just mentioned that there's clear advantage and that there's going to be new type of data. What I see is that there's going to be an advantage and disadvantage. However, both will be seen not by normal customers like myself or yourself or the listeners. So when we've transitioned from 3D to from 3G to 4G and then from 4G to 5G, it affected the end customers quite a lot, right? Because our YouTube videos were opening much faster and we were able to send photos to the cloud much faster because they were getting much bigger. Like a standard photo right now is probably 10 megabytes, and we take 50 photos during our breakfast while being away somewhere, and we want all of those photos to be uploaded over 5G really fast. And then there's this data with 6G. We'll see a vast amount of data being passed and transitioned and sent between the edge and all the way to the core and then the cloud. But it's more built for industrial use cases. So I don't think, obviously, the latency is going to improve, and there's going to be no delay, and there's going to be much lower packet loss, and the reliability is going to be really, really good. Like we're looking at 99.99999% of reliability. And we want to, Madhusanka just mentioned, support applications such as remote surgeries. So you have probably seen a Da Vinci operations between London and Beijing, right? And we actually have quite a lot of this medical use cases right now, where we have training for UCD School of Medical Science using VR glasses and haptic gloves, and we're able to operate in a digital surgery room. So it's not even about collecting or assessing the data that is in the network, but also supporting these different use cases. With this, of course, there's quite a lot of privacy issues, and I think we have a dedicated team of probably 5 to 6 researchers that only care about the privacy of your data in the network, and that is still very questionable in the 6G era. I don't want to undermine the 6G. We want it. We love it. We work on this, but there's going to be definitely issues that we don't see yet as researchers that we will encounter when 6G is spinned out.
One of the problems that we come across whenever we're talking about AI is that of sustainability and energy and how to manage the cost of compute and storage. Madhusanka, if you can tell us a little bit more about how that problem is being approached.
Yeah, actually, this is a very interesting question. That's like one of the critical research question we are also trying to resolve, because the energy utilization it's something we consider seriously in the 6G domain, because one of the design requirement in the 6G is like how we can reduce the energy utilization, because this is really important when it comes to when we try to connect these low power devices like IoT and those kind of things. The communication latency it's a critical factor. And also, like since we have this sustainable development goal and the EU Green Deal, so we are trying to achieve like more zero energy kind of communication. And again, like we are now using, on the other hand, like we are using like AI and the security algorithms which are consuming lot more energy. So this is something actually a very interesting research problems we were trying to address from our side. So there are like several approaches actually we can use here. Like, so, like we have some kind of energy efficient cloud data centers, like which are using green energy for the running these kind of servers. So we can move on. We can think about like using these kind of energy resources or the cloud resources rather than try to use like energy hungry things or like the uh, AI algorithms or AI servers at the network. So we try to go for like more like a hierarchical kind of scenarios. We try to develop like a low power security solution or AI algorithm at the network level, and whatever consume a lot of energy, we try to offload for these kind of green data centers or the cloud resources. So that's like the one of the approach we are considering. And also like from the security point of view, because we are working more on the security side of the network. So the energy and the security were neglected almost all the generation of mobile network. So nobody consider about the energy utilization when it consider about the security. I mean, they were thinking about the more secure and much advanced security solution. They never thought about the energy efficiency. But now we are at the point we have to consider the energy also one of the factor in the security. So we think about this, and especially we are now trying to develop more energy efficient encryption algorithms, and even like if we consider like AI algorithms, like we are using like moving target defense. Then when we are going for a new stage in the AI algorithm, we try to go for more energy efficient state. So we consider like energy is like one of the factors to decide in the security algorithm, like not as an afterthought. So we consider it from the beginning as one of the requirement of the security. So these are the approaches like actually we are taking in order to make sure our system are energy efficient in the most of the cases.
And that was Niall Kitson chatting with Matasanka Lineage and Bart Siniarski from UCD.
This is Tech Radio.
That's it for our show this week. We still have other stories, of course, online on the website that we did manage to get into the podcast this week, including...
Yeah, we have Billy McInnes on why companies ignore the Irish market. The EU imposes sanctions on threat actors linked to China and Iran. And a €1.6 billion data centre project for Ennis finally gets the go-ahead.
You'll find all of those stories and more online at techcentral.ie. We're back again next Friday with a brand new show for you. In the meantime, please do share our podcast with a friend who's into tech and gadgets. Just tell them to look up Tech Radio Ireland wherever they get their podcasts. Until next time, from myself, Dusty Rhodes, and from Niall Kitson, thanks for listening and have an awesome weekend.
Tech Radio is produced by dustpod.io. From me, Artemis, goodbye.